Welcome to another edition of If You Can't Take the Heat. My name is Jordan Capozzi, Syracuse University sophomore, as you guys know. And once again with me, it's my man, J-Rod, Josh Rodriguez. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, Jordan.
There you go. I'm glad you're doing well. Thanksgiving coming up.
Yep.
Excited. What's your favorite Thanksgiving dish? How about let's start off with something real light.
If I had to go, I'd probably go with cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce,
Yeah.
really? That's a sleeper.
Yes.
That's a sleeper. I'm a big mashed potatoes and gravy guy myself, so best of both worlds. Get the savory, get the sweet. Cranberry sauce, though. That's a good one. Homemade, or you like it out of the can?
Homemade.
Homemade.
It's gotta be
Okay.
homemade.
It's gotta be. Ooh, I don't mind it out of the can sometimes, but if you can't tell, I'm in a pretty good mood, and I think you have a feeling why. The Miami Heat are tied for their season long with a 2-game winning streak. Woo! Now, I was talking to one of my friends about this, actually, and I told them, like, hey, Miami's won 2 games in a row. They're like, oh, cool. Who have they played? I've been like, the Bucks and the Wizards. And he said it didn't count. Dang it, in Miami, we're taking all the wins we can get. So I'm not even going to talk about the losses. Right now, we're 4-8, not last in the division anymore. And here's how. First game, we played the Bucks, and we demolished the Bucks. I was pretty nervous, I'm not going to lie. Without Winslow, I didn't really know what was going to happen with Giannis Antetokounmpo, but he was actually held in check, which was the biggest problem that we may have had. Only 5 for 15 from the field. He didn't even lead the team in rebounds. The emergence of Jabari Parker is something to keep track of.
Yeah, with the Bucks, though, the past 2 years, everyone's kind of just had them as, like, oh, they're going to be so good this year, because last year they had signed Greg Monroe.
Yep.
And then this year, Giannis is playing point guard, and still they have a negative record. They're 5-7 this year. However, though, I do like you said, I do like the emergence of Jabari Parker, and I feel like for years to come, they might be a good team. But as of now, we'll see.
They could, dude. One player who I think everybody's been sleeping on lately is John Henson. Now, I know we're talking about the Heat wins, but with Greg Monroe not playing up to expectations, John Henson's he played 30 minutes almost in that game. And, I mean, it's not like he's going to get you, like, 20 points a game, but if you remember watching him play with North Carolina, that's a big man. I believe he's 6'11".
Yeah.
He could be getting him some boards, which would help him out a lot, leaving Antetokounmpo and Jabari Parker to be able to space the floor a little bit more. Jabari has a decent jump shot. Decent. Better than Giannis. But focusing on the Heat that game, one thing that really helped them out against the Bucks in the 96-73 win from a few days ago is they out-rebounded them by, I believe it was 61-48, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been 59, but the point is there was a big rebound differential, and obviously Whiteside, he did what he does, 17 rebounds. But the main problem we've been having is other players not getting boards as a Heat fan. And last game, not only did we have another player reach double-digit rebounds, James Johnson, who has been exceeding expectations, filling into that kind of power forward, small forward slot. But Tyler Johnson also had 8 boards. Waiters had 7, actually, and Dragic had 6. So an even rebounding effort for the team, and I think they're going to need a lot more of that. Whiteside can't just do all the rebounding.
Yeah, big thing, though, with that game. Whiteside had 7 blocks.
Yeah, he did.
You would think that they would have known after maybe, like, the 3rd block not to go in the paint, but, well.
Stay out of there. Giannis, I apologize. Hassan Whiteside, he went deer hunting that game. He was blocking everybody, and he put up 12 points, too. That game was led by Dion Waiters, who took 22 shots. Now, I'll continue this later, but interesting, the last 4 games the Heat played, which have included a loss to the Spurs, the Hawks, and then the 2 wins. Waiters has shot, he was 12 for 26 against the Spurs, 5 for 18 against the Hawks, 10 for 22 against the Bucks, and 7 for 16 against the Wizards. Now, immediately I look at that and I think, how did this happen? Like, how did Waiters end up shooting all these shots? I was not excited for him to come through and be a Heat member, to be honest, but he is playing a huge role on the team. He's also led the team in assists a few games. I believe he had like 8 against the Wizards. We'll talk about that game next, get more specific in these stats, but I think I'm starting to embrace Waiters. You reminded me of something I forgot about, actually. Wayne Ellington. He could be returning soon. Do you see that? Whose playing time do you see that cutting into? Waiters has been playing 30-something a game. Richardson played 30 against the Bucks at least. Who do you see being the main? Who will it harm mainly, do you think?
I think Waiters, because what Wayne Ellington brings to the team is 3-point shooting, which you said earlier is what the team needs. However, I don't think he is going to cut into the minutes that much. I feel like maybe 15, 20, around there. But I think for the Heat's sake, I feel like he should come back soon.
Yeah, I think him coming back will really help him out, give him a little bit more shooting. They only shot 23% from downtown in that blowout win. Just looking at it, only 50% from the free throw line, too. That's gosh darn atrocious. Looking at that game, I don't even know how we pulled out a win, but we did. Big win against the Bucks, and then the next game we played a division foe. We are competing for a spot in the cellar, and that is the Washington Wizards. Pulled out the win, I believe 114 to 111. As we said, Waiters was leading the team again. He was 7 for 16. But one thing that really helped the Heat out that game, which when you do what I'm about to say you did and you only win by 3, you should be concerned. Miami shot 13 from 27 from downtown. That is almost 50% shooting, and you need to score like that when you're not on your game defensively. The Heat, known as a very defensive team, gave up 34 to Bradley Beal.
And John Wall.
And along with John Wall. That's 68 between 2 players. Now, given nobody else scored more than 10 points in the Wizards lineup, but that being said, 48% from 3 and only a 3-point win. That's rough, but we'll take them. Going down the stat line, like for last game, Whiteside had 18 rebounds, 18 and 18. I believe he had a 20 and 20 game last week we talked about.
Yeah.
So it's good or bad depending on how you look at it to see that he's averaging as many rebounds almost as points. He's averaging, I believe, 16 points per game and 13 rebounds a game, I want to say, on the season. Around there. And he played 40 minutes in that game as well. So it's good to see he's not being affected by the curse that usually harms big men in this league, which is foul trouble. Looking around that game as well, Richardson played 34 minutes, so it looks like they're trying to play him a bit more. Waiters played less. James Johnson played 27, and someone who I want to talk about for a little bit, Rodney McGruder. He has been playing about 20 minutes a game. I talked about him a bit in the beginning of the year as he was a long shot, I would say, to make the roster, but he has been contributing all around the stat sheet. In case you don't know, he is out of Kansas State. He's a rookie technically this year, just got drafted, but he's 25, so he brings a little bit of experience to the team. Not doing much scoring, but as a defensive team, I think Magruder is a player to keep watching this year.
Yeah. On that note, you talked about Josh Richardson a bit. He went 4 for 6 from 3. Interesting fact: the Heat are 3-0 when they score more than 100 points.
Really?
So once we talked about earlier, Wayne Ellington comes back and Josh Richardson, if he's able to shoot as well as he's doing, that could be huge. Weird thing, I don't feel like Goran Dragic is he's having an alright season, but compared to like how Tyler Johnson's doing, I feel like Tyler Johnson's been worth the money. Dragic, however, I feel like he's kind of like underperforming his contract value, but because he's only averaging like 6 assists per game, and I feel like when you have the ball as much as he does, I feel like those numbers should be a little bit higher. But if that's what Eric Spoelstra wants, if that's how Eric Spoelstra wants to play, then fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I would like to see for this team to realistically make a playoff run after by the All-Star break. We're going to need to see, in my opinion, Dragic and Whiteside both scoring at least 20 a game, and it's not impossible. They're both averaging around 17, 30-something minutes a game. Whiteside getting all those rebounds. He has putback opportunities, and Dragic is going to have the ball in hand a lot. But Johnson can score a little bit. Waiters has been inconsistent throughout his career, and Josh Richardson can put some points in. But other than that, not much consistent scoring on the roster. Winslow's averaging 12 a game, but that's not huge. Right now, they're averaging a little under 100 a game, and like Josh alluded to, if they get over 100, they're 3-0. It's just how often can they do that? One of the big problems this year in Miami has been Whiteside being the only one getting rebounds. We heard they shot 48% from 3 in the win against the Wizards and 23 in the blowout against the Bucks. So me personally and a lot of Heat fans are thinking, well, if we can shoot from 3 well, we'll be great. But what looks like it has been is the rebounding. As I said, in both those games, we had a 10 rebound differential, and this season we have a negative rebound differential and 8 losses. So obviously, if 2 of those games we had a huge rebound differential in our favor, then you got to think that that might be the issue. Do you think, as we kind of segue a little bit, not yet, but later we'll be talking about some trade possibilities. Do you think the Heat need a little bit more scoring, or do you think they need a big man? Both?
I think defensively they need help. You said earlier that the Heat are known as a defensive team. I feel like D-Wade did help with that a lot, but
D-Wade was great.
In the first half of the Wizards game, their defense was terrible, but then in the second half they were able to switch gears and come out with the W then. But personally, I think they should improve more on the defensive end. I definitely could see Waiters being a trade asset, assuming he does. If he keeps putting up decent numbers, I could see teams possibly wanting him, like how the Thunder acquired him last year to be a bench player and help them in the playoff run. So I definitely could see a contender trying to get Waiters and possibly other players for depth in the postseason.
The thing about Waiters is, though, all last year, people were saying, Miami's good, but they need another scoring option. Their defense is great, but they just can't put the ball in the basket. Waiters has put it on his shoulders to take almost 20 shots a game. Obviously, you don't want that many from Waiters, but he's shooting over the last 4 games close to 50%, shooting almost 20 a game. I mean, it's just kind of upsetting to see that not really work out, because that's what we thought we needed, and I'll arguably take 50% from a shooter like Waiters all the time, but we're just going to have to see how that works out. So Thanksgiving coming up, as we alluded to. So we are going to have a couple little special segments. We're going to have the first one we're going to call Thanks. No, not thanks for watching. We're out of here. We're going to talk about some things that we're thankful for this NBA season that you can talk about at the table this year while you're eating your cranberry sauce and mashed potatoes. So I would just like to start out by saying I love this year all the breakout stars we're having. I checked today, and we have about 30 players that average, if you round up, 20 points a game. That's great to see that, on average, at least one player in the NBA on every team will make a big impact, a big difference. It's good seeing, I'm not going to get all hyped. How about, what are you thankful for as well? What have you been liking from this NBA season? Not even thankful for, but...
I've liked that. I'm actually kind of happy that the Clippers are first in the West. Everyone had the expectation that the Warriors are going to be the best team in the league, and they're not. They're the second best. And I just feel like the Clippers were able to figure it out this season. 12-2 now. I feel like, however, a big reason that they've been playing so well is their defense. I feel like Blake Griffin and Mbah Mute especially have improved drastically compared to last season. And since Mbah Mute has been doing really well, he doesn't play any offense at all, so he can just do all the defense on that side of the ball, which would allow Chris Paul to play more off-ball defense, which is what he's really good at, instead of having to play the ball all the time and then having to go on offense and do more or less the same thing. Funny story. Chris Paul.
I know what you're gonna say. And I was just thinking it.
Had eye surgery over this off season, and he's shooting really well from deep now.
Yeah,
so
I was just thinking about that. I think it's 46% this season. I want to say I saw that. That's actually really funny. I was thinking that at the same time. But the Clippers, that's true. I'm very happy to see them because I felt terrible last year for not only the organization but Chris Paul especially when he got hurt. That was really upsetting. I'd love to see that franchise be successful. Obviously, for the last 10, 20, 30, however long the franchises have been around, they've had that little brother kind of role to the Lakers. So as the Lakers are kind of rebuilding, and they're on the rise. So watch out, LA. There's a window, and when Chris Paul leaves, Blake Griffin could leave, and that could just be disastrous. So I hope for the Clippers' sake that they can do well and hopefully make a deep playoff run because I know everyone's loving seeing when the Warriors lose. Speaking of which, another thing I'm thankful for this year, I'm thankful that we have a villain. Every year in the NBA, I feel like in the offseason, somebody is not liked, you know? I feel like whether it's LeBron, whether it's Dwight Howard, whether it was Kobe some years with his stuff, there's somebody who's not liked, and if you've been watching the Warriors this year, they've been playing with a little bit of something. I don't know what, but I've just been seeing their demeanor change. They always talk to the refs and everything, but I've seen a little bit more of that. I've seen Steph have a little chip on his shoulder. I've seen in situations where they'd usually be happy, they're just angry and motivated and talking to themselves. So I love seeing players play hard during the regular season.
That and coaches too. Coaches this season have had problems with the ref as well.
Yeah, Steve Kerr just got fined for he was on a radio show and they asked him about traveling calls and he brought up one from the most recent game. And it was DeMar DeRozan. I don't remember the exact quote, but he said basically that officials were watching for everything except traveling. Which, I mean, in the NBA's defense, Steve Kerr, you can't just start mentioning it now that you're not first. We're not going to talk about those illegal screens, Steve Kerr. We see you, Steve. Okay, for the second half, like I alluded to earlier in the cast, the second half of Thanksgiving is giving, and that is what I think if the Heat want to make a playoff run, which, let's be honest, I wouldn't mind them tanking at this point. We have pieces, but I think we need a second star. But the giving aspect, so I want to talk about a couple players who could be given from the Heat or to the Heat. And not all of these are confirmed. I didn't go to my sources, as Chris Broussard would say, but these are just some things I've looked at and I think could be a great fit. Now, if you remember, I believe you sent me the article, Josh, over the offseason, the Heat were talking about a trade for Rudy Gay. Now, Sacramento is a complete disaster this year, 4-9, same record as Miami. Miami has one less loss, but same amount of wins. Rudy Gay on a team that is going nowhere. I would say that if DeMarcus Cousins leaves, which I've been hearing a ton of, Kings are having lineup issues. They're small ball. Some Dave Yeager and Omri Caspi might have a little bit of beef. If DeRozan dips, I apologize. If Cousins dips and he doesn't go to Miami, which I would love, you would fit in great, by the way. Power forward, right with Hassan. You wouldn't even have to play any defense. You wouldn't have to do anything, just score. We would love it. But when Cousins leaves, I think Gay's got to be soon after. Gay's going to want to help a team win a championship.
Gay, however, He does. He did used to make the playoffs with the Grizzlies often, but I don't see him as like a player that would help a team go to the playoffs solely because of how little defense he plays. He is really known for his scoring, and he does put up a lot of shots per game. I'm not sure what the exact number is, and I just feel like when teams trade for players like Rudy Gay or Jeff Green, they're kind of just saying, "Oh, we just need some scoring," but those teams usually don't get very far deep into the playoffs.
I agree with that, but I could see maybe, I mean, you think that we need some more defense, so I mean, nothing wrong with some defense. On the offensive side, I think Gay could really help, especially filling up that the little problem we have at the 4 position. I mean, he could stretch the floor, he'd fit in perfectly with the small ball, but I can see how him taking all those shots would be pretty tough, especially with the Heat having some players shooting really well this year and picking up their groove. Another player, this is a long shot, but I've heard some rumors John Wall might go to the Sixers. Why go to the Sixers when you can take a little trip to South Beach? Now, here is something, hey, I see you shaking your head. Here is something that a lot of people don't know. John Wall is getting paid less than Goran Dragic. Now, if John Wall isn't happy in Washington, something could get worked out. It would be difficult, but get rid of Dragic's contract, give up maybe a pick. I mean, Wall with Whiteside would be incredible. How do you think Wall could work with the Heat, who, if they got rid of Dragic, Wall could be a clear #1 point guard?
I think Wall would be great on almost any team, basically. However, the past couple seasons, they did make the playoffs, not last year, but he's 26 now. He's not going to get any younger, and he's a player that deserves to be on a playoff caliber team.
You don't think John Wall makes him a playoff caliber team, though, with Wall and Whiteside on that team?
No, just him leaving Washington, period.
Okay.
But yeah, if John Wall was to happen to go to Miami, would help a bunch, I believe.
I think they'd have to get rid of, I don't know who they could get rid of. Like you said, I think if they got Wall, they'd get rid of Waiters. They already have Beal, though. Speaking of Beal, I heard earlier, it might have been earlier this week or a couple weeks ago, within the last month, I believe, John Wall, he said that him and Bradley Beal tended to disagree and dislike each other on the court. So even if Beal wants to hop out of Washington, like, we'll take him. I'm desperate.
I don't see, however, the Heat getting rid of Dragic specifically because of how big his contract is, and I don't think any other team wants to take up that much money for a player like Dragic.
That's true. It would be desperate. That's why, if you know, I'm picking a lot of teams that the player is not happy there. So that's the situation, because I know damn well that this isn't like it was with LeBron, players wanting to come to Miami. This is a different situation, very different. So before this segment ends, you personally, are we going to be givers or are we going to be takers at the trade deadline? I know I asked last week, I believe, but the season changes, and this is really what I'm looking forward to as a Heat fan. The trade deadline, baby.
Definitely takers. I definitely see them making a move at the deadline. I couldn't tell you who. Draft picks would be nice for the Heat. I do like the draft class this year. I feel like the Heat could benefit tremendously. I feel like this year they're gonna get at least a lottery pick, and then if they were to trade for another from another team, I definitely could see them getting like a top mid-round, the top tier pick.
What do you think they attack with that pick? Right now, it's obviously early.
Like what team or what position?
With that, what position? What do you think?
Position?
Yeah, that's a tough one because they have a lot of depth. It's just not good depth necessarily.
Yeah, because I like Josh Richardson, Justice Winslow. I definitely could see Pat Riley building around them, but it's interesting to see what position if Pat Riley leaves Richardson at the 2, Dragic at the 1, and then Winslow at the 3, so then you have a hole at the 4. So then maybe they could draft at the 4, and then maybe pick up I'm not sure if they want to use Richardson at the point guard in the future because when Dragic was hurt, they played Richardson at point guard. So I'm not sure if they want to keep doing that in the future or move Richardson back to the 2. So
That'll be something interesting to look at. Obviously, we're very far ahead, but see, I want the Heat to be takers, but realistically, I think they're going to be so far behind that they're just going to start giving people away and stocking for draft picks. So, I mean, I would like to agree with you, but I just don't. I think they're going to be so far behind they're not going to want to. Now, we got to celebrate this while it's possible. It looks like we might have a 3-game win streak as tomorrow, Monday night at 4, we play the 76ers, baby! Now, the 76ers actually, they have a 3-5 home record to our 2-3. And this game is in Philadelphia. Just looking at the Sixers, their leading scorer right now is Ersan Ilyasova, averaging a little under 11. Their leading rebounder, Dario Saric, I'm sorry if I got your name wrong, my homie, averaging 6.4 a game, and Sergio Rodriguez with 7 assists a game. Do you see the Heat any chance of them dropping that game to the Sixers?
I think it all depends on whether or not Embiid, I'm pretty sure, is ruled out this game. So I feel like that just gives the Heat a better chance to win.
Yep,
Embiid could be extremely embarrassing to lose this, so I really hope that our sake that the Heat win.
Seriously. One little stat to keep the Heat fans optimistic before you go. The 76ers, I'll give you 2. A team with a lot of length. This, obviously, they haven't all been playing, but they have Embiid, they have Noel, who he's out, but he's still, I'm talking about that length. They have Okafor, they have Simmons hasn't been playing, but still, they're a lengthy team. The Heat are averaging more blocks a game. They're averaging almost a block more a game, so I wouldn't be too worried about that aspect. And then while these 76ers are averaging more points per game scored than the Heat are giving up more than 10 less points. The Sixers are giving up 108 a game. So, like you pointed out earlier, Josh, if the Heat can eclipse 100, I would say that's almost a guaranteed win against the Sixers, especially with Embiid out. After that, the schedule, it's going to get a little bit harder. But as shown by the ticket prices of these games, which every single Miami Heat game, home or away, until December, you can go to for under $20, people. Like, that's how non-competitive these games are. You want to see the Heat Celtics in Boston, 7:30, November 28th. Tickets are available from $18 on ESPN.com. So these are not high-profile games. That being said, we got Detroit coming up after Philadelphia, at Detroit. We have at Memphis. Then the next night, we got a back-to-back at home against Memphis. We got Boston, who just got Crowder and Horford back. So I was looking earlier today and thinking we could win that, but that might be tough now. And we finish off the month with the Nuggets. 6 games left. I see us winning. I see 4 of those games. I think, I see 4. I think we beat Memphis twice. I think we lose to Boston, and I think we lose to Detroit, but I think we pick up wins against Philly and Denver. What do you think? Do you think any of these games, do you think we could sneak out against Detroit or Boston? Maybe?
Well, the Heat also just opened up the 4-game road trip. Yeah. So I definitely could see them dropping a game again in Detroit. Memphis, I could see them winning both of those games back-to-back. And then I could see them winning a game against the Nuggets. The Nuggets still seem to be like a bit confused, like in the front court with Jokic and Nurkic.
And Fareed. They're playing him more now. They're deciding it's not working.
Yeah,
so.
It's just, and then they had Gallinari and Wilson Chandler, who are both playing like, I think, an even amount of minutes, but like they don't have like one guy that they can depend on. Yeah, so I don't know. Denver's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. So unfortunately for us Heat fans, the odds are that by December we will still have a losing record. But, I mean, after that, we got Utah. That'll be a tough game. We got Portland, the Knicks, and then it just gets tougher from there. Playing Cleveland on the 9th. So, hopefully, we're going to have to steal one from, most likely, Detroit if we want to escape with a winning record. And speaking of escape, we are coming up on the half-hour mark. So we're going to have to end this one. We're going to have to cut it off. I'm Jordan Capozzi.
I'm Josh Rodriguez.
And glad to have you, Josh. Thank you for coming, as tradition would say. And thank you all for watching. But you got to remember, before you step all up in this grill, if you can't take the heat, I'm going to need you to get out of my podcast. So long, and go Miami Heat.